Good evening, welcome to Central News for Thursday the 20th of February. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Once again, the debate over a new rugby stadium for Tauranga City is heating up, following the announcement of the Chiefs rugby team not playing any home games at Bay Park. Mayor Stuart Crosby has advocated for a new stadium to be built at the city's Wharepai Domain with a 15,000 to 18,000 seat capacity. Long-time stadium advocate Terry Leeming, known as Hori Bop, has been pushing for an alternative rugby venue redevelopment for years. He says there are many options.
Well, Hilary, Western Bay of Plenty was the only region that was left out of the 2011 World Cup. So that gives you an indication of how people see this area facility-wise for hosting major sports events in rectangular sports, whether it be league, rugby, soccer, or whatever, curling if you will. But we just haven't got the facilities to host these events effectively.
Rena owner Diana Shipping and insurer the Swedish Club will be filing for resource consent to leave the remains of the cargo ship on the Astrolabe Reef. Motiti Island's Hapu Ngai Te Hapu's spokesperson, Buddy Makaire, has said he will fight the resource consent and he is demanding the confidential deal between the government and the owners be made public.
There's a number of grounds that we're opposed to that, leaving that wreck there. One of them obviously is the cultural reasons. The reef we regard as being a taonga belonging to us since our ancestors first discovered it. It was given to us in a pristine condition. We believe it's our obligation to make sure it's passed to the next generation in the same condition, pristine. This is something that's happened that people have the ability to do something about, so we want them to do something about that.
Friday the 21st of February represents 150 years since an attack on the village of Rangiō in the Waikato War, 1863 to 1864. The events that unfolded at the small settlement near Te Awamutu are still debated by historians and the descendants of Ngāti Apakura. At daybreak on the 21st of February 1864, the advance guard of General Duncan Cameron's 1,000-strong force of cavalry and foot soldiers attacked the largely undefended Rangiō Whaia. 12 Māori were killed, including women, children and the elderly. Several houses were burned down, with villagers incinerated inside. 5 British soldiers died. To mark this day, the local iwi will unveil a plaque at dawn on the site. They believe the house stood bare before they were burned down. At 8:30 a.m, a silent hikoi will make its way to the Catholic cemetery and dignitaries will join the hikoi en route. Now for our region's marine forecast, west coast Raglan, the swell eases tomorrow morning with a variable easterly 10 knots. Your high tide is 3:02 p.m. at Raglan. The Bay of Plenty, easterly 10 knots, turning northeast in the morning and rising to 15 knots for a time in the afternoon. The sea's slight and it's cloudy, poor visibility and the occasional drizzle. Tauranga, your high tide is 12:28, right on lunchtime. Just ahead, Relay for Life. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. With cancer affecting 1 in 3 New Zealanders, there's a good chance everyone has their own story about how the disease has touched them. Anne-Marie spoke with Sarah Fitzpatrick about the unique community event that is the Relay for Life and how it enables Kiwis to fight back against the disease.
Well, Relay for Life is the Cancer Society's second biggest fundraiser after Daffodil Day, so Fight Back reflects that. It's all about raising money for the Cancer Society so that we can continue offering services to people affected by cancer and funding research so hopefully fewer people are affected by cancer in the future.
Where do the funds go that are raised?
This is probably one of my favourite parts about Relay, is that all of the money raised stays in the Waikato and Bay of Plenty area, so you know that the money you're raising is actually going to, your friends and your family and your neighbours and is helping people local to you. The money helps the Cancer Society provide a range of free services, things like our liaison nurses who support people who are affected by cancer from the moment they're diagnosed right through until remission or the move to hospice care. It helps us fund our beautiful Lions Lodge in Hamilton, where people can go in while they're receiving treatment. and all of our range of support services and health promotion activities.
What makes Relay for Life such a unique event?
Well, 1 in 3 New Zealanders are affected by cancer, and I think Relay for Life really reflects that in the diversity of the people who attend. We have people of all ages and from all walks of life coming to Relay for Life, and it really showcases that cancer really does just affect anybody. Doesn't discriminate against young or old or male or female, and we have everybody attend, and it's kind of one of the only times you see that kind of scope of community come together and are joined by a common cause and common experiences.
Tell me about the candlelight ceremony.
It's such a moving and unique experience. We light candles in pre-decorated candle bags which honour loved ones that have passed away, and these bags line the track, and we walk through the night with their glow, reminding us of these people who can't be with us any longer.
Can anyone attend?
Absolutely anybody can attend. If you can't make it, if you can't enter a team, come along just for that. We do ask for a gold coin donation on the entry, but anybody is welcome, and I'd really encourage them to come along.
Is it too late for teams to register?
Not at all. We've still got spaces available, but the sooner you get in, the more fundraising you can do, and gives you more time to get organised. So if you are interested, give us a call. You can register on our website, which is www.relayforlife.org.nz, or call into our office on Grey Street.
You can register for the Relay for Life at relayforlife.org.nz. The Tauranga and Western Bay joint provisional local alcohol policy is up for appeal. One of the proposed changes was extending the opening hours of Mount Bars to 3 a.m. This has been scrapped from the policy. I found out why from the Western Bay Mayor, Ross Patterson.
The Mount was very similar to some of the rural provincial towns, that they wanted control over their drinking and what was happening in the area. They didn't want late nights, they didn't want noise, they didn't want the liquor glass problem and that sort of thing. So that came through from the submissions, and it's been put in place.
There have been some discretionary conditions stated in the draft for off licences, so what are those?
There's mainly two there. One is that in the areas of pre-sale, drinks cannot be broken down. We're talking about the RTDs. You've got to buy the pack. You can't go in just before the close and buy one bottle. And we're also got a 50% restriction on the advertising in the front windows. No more than 50% of the front window be full of advertising. So there's only the two restrictions mainly.
What about for on licences?
Bit more detail there. There's a ratio of patron numbers to security, patron numbers to the bar manager, size of drinks, the time of lateness of actually selling drinks, and also of the use of outdoor areas after a certain time. So there's a few more discretionaries in that area.
So what are the hours that people have to stop selling drinks?
It depends a lot on the actual premises. Some premises in the rural area could shut at 9 or 10 because the clients leave then and there's no further need for them to have it open. There is a problem though that those who wish to drink in those areas may then get in vehicles and travel into the CBD because of the later hours, and that's something we need to monitor because we don't want to have people on the roads travelling possibly under the influence of alcohol.
What is the general consensus from licensees? Are they quite happy with what's been proposed?
Yes, they are. They had a very big role to play in the submissions and really brought numbers in and supplied some very good material. So that I think we've got a policy now that accommodates their thoughts, but also has the thoughts of the police, who are very much involved in this, and in the health sector.
Where to from here?
Well, we're in the submission phase at this stage, closing on the 24th of February. If there is no appeals to what we're doing here, then that will become the bylaw right throughout the sub-region. If there is an appeal, that is dealt with in Wellington by a higher authority. So we're waiting to see what we have on the 24th of February.
And if there are no submissions, when could we look at possibly having this policy in place?
Shortly after that, it only has to be advertised and ratified within the two councils, because this is a joint between TCC and ourselves, ratified by both those councils. It then becomes the bylaw.
Why did you and TCC decide to join forces?
We were looking at the ability and how could we work together and testing that area, and it was a very good test, something like this. We have certainly come up with different rules and things within different areas, but it still showed that we could work together, and that was the pleasing part about it actually.
Were there any tensions?
We had probably half the councils, half the numbers from both councils. We had a good flow of information, and I think we worked well with the public and those who are making submissions, and that's the secret of it. You get that in the right spot, then there's no tensions anywhere.
The appeals close tomorrow at 5 p.m. Coming up next, New Zealand is becoming fatter. What can we do? Welcome back. Sugar-free, carb-free, high-protein, detox diet, soup diet, the list of different diets to try is endless, and it seems it's one extreme or the other. Yet Kiwis are losing the battle of the bulge. Holistic nutritionist and personal trainer Stacey Hancock spoke with Anne-Marie about nutrition.
Stacey Hancock, welcome to Central News. There always seems to be one fad diet or another, doesn't there? Yes. Whatever happened to the notion of everything in moderation?
Well, everything, I don't honestly know what happened to it overall, but I do know a little something about human nature, and that our attention span is very limited. And while you have repetition, which will encourage someone to, pay attention, once you go over that threshold of repetition, it becomes wallpaper and we tune out. And the thing with fad diets is that they're shiny new toys, and everybody loves shiny and new. They make great conversational fodder. You see people talking about them on Facebook and things like that. And so that's what humans like. And the other thing too is that marketing is very savvy these days as well, and there's a lot of psychological brainwashing going on, and it's very hard to ignore that and go, oh, that sounds like exactly what I need. So that's what's happening.
New Zealand is the third fattest of all OECD countries. Shocking. So embarrassing, behind Mexico and USA.
I know, it's awful.
Children aren't to blame for this, though, for their weight gain, are they?
No, they're not. They're too young to know how the human body functions and what is actually causing these things. But similarly, I don't know if we can lay any blame as such using that word, because people just don't know how the body works and what happens to this food. So you can't blame what you don't know. But if you do know and you're still doing it, then, the blame lies with whoever's going against the knowledge they know.
That's an interesting point. Is education the key? Do people really understand how the human body works and what it needs to fuel itself? Should we be teaching this at school?
We should be teaching this at school, and in a more formal way than just, health class in some of the schools that are maybe having a little component on food. People need to understand how to look after themselves, because this is what you've got for, 80, 90 years of your life. So you really want to learn how to look after it properly.
In the 80s, it was all about fat. Fat was bad, and then we moved on to carbs. Let's go no carb. And now it seems sugar. Everywhere we look, the message is that sugar is bad. What's next? Protein.
It's bad to breathe. I don't know what's next, but something will be next. But we're pigeonholing. We're being too isolated. The problem is how we're living our lives. We want convenient food, so we're buying it. And so that's full of sugar and fat and salt and trans fats and additives. It's not down to, what's the one thing that's bad. It's what is the overall big problem, and can we get stuck into that and deal with people and human behaviour instead of just telling you, right, eat this, don't eat this. The needn't food list came out a couple of years ago. You heard about it for 1 week and that was it. Didn't help anybody.
Stacey Hancock, thank you.
Thank you.
For further details and information about nutrition, go to staceyhancock.co.nz. With summer holidays officially over and Kiwi kids heading back to school in full force, one of New Zealand's most experienced and respected behavioural optometrists is warning that many of our nation's children may exhibit behavioural issues due to a lack of visual skills. Keith Miller joined me in a studio earlier this week. Welcome to the show, Keith.
Well, thank you.
Now, first off, what is behavioural optometry?
That's a mouthful, isn't it? It could take us a while to go through there. But basically, a conventional optometrist is interested in your eyesight. He wants to know that your eyes are normally formed, that they're healthy, and they can see the bottom line on the chart. A behavioural optometrist says, well, yes, you've got good eyesight, but you've got two eyes. Can you use them together? Can you use them efficiently? Can you see fast and accurately? And have you got the stamina to use your eyes over a long period of time?
Is that something relatively new? I mean, we've never really heard of it before.
I guess it's not new in that up to the last 100 years or so we've been looking at how people use their eyes. But I guess we're paying more and more attention because in society today we use our eyes much more up close, not in the distance, which is where we test basically for eyesight.
Because, I mean, kids can have 20/20 eyesight, but they can still have visual problems, you said. So can you explain the difference between the two?
Yes. The 20/20 refers to the bottom line on the chart, looking in the distance. Now, obviously, once you've got good distance vision, we want to know whether you can then look up close. Turn those two eyes in, coordinate, track, team, focus. If you're unable to change your focus from far to close and maintain it, you're going to have difficulty with close-up vision.
Is that the brain, or is that your actual eyes, or what is going on there to train those eyes to do that?
When we're born, the two eyes move independently. They learn to work together in teams, so those skills are learned. So that learning is done in the brain. So the brain directs the two eyes to work together. Now those skills we learn, and obviously if you are not very skillful, we can develop those skills. You can become better, you can become expert. So a lot of sports people work on their visual skills to become better sportsmen. But the child learning to read has to learn a whole new set of movement patterns with their eyes. So those skills, some children learn fast, some learn slow, some haven't got those skills yet when they arrive at school.
And so you believe that that can actually lead to misdiagnosed behavioural issues?
Well, that's right. If you arrive at school, you've given some print to look at, you find that it's blurry, it gives you sore eyes, headaches, you've got two choices. You can try harder, and those kids are easy to pick up because they'll be rubbing their eyes, they'll be telling you that they've got sore eyes, headaches. The other group of children, they'll go, this hurts, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to avoid it. So these are the kids that avoid reading. And of course a child who's sitting in class while everyone else is reading and is avoiding reading gets up to mischief. And those children can be mislabelled as having an attention problem or another problem, whereas in fact all they're doing is just avoiding using their eyesight.
It's very interesting. I've definitely learnt something. Thank you very much, Keith.
You're welcome.
You can find out more information about visual behaviour at youngeyes.co.nz. Just ahead, our region's weather, and Te Aroha is booming. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. The economic peddling power of the Hauraki Rail Trail and returning business confidence in the region has seen a recent entrant to the Te Aroha's hospitality sector expand less than a year after it opened. Anne-Marie spoke with Te Aroha Landing co-owner and marketing director Gillian O'Neill to find out more about the high-end tourist and corporate guest accommodation.
Gillian, welcome to Central News and congratulations. Te Aroha Landing, it's only been open a year and you've already expanded. Tell me about the new chalets.
Thanks, Annie. We are also excited. The new chalets that we've built are right down on the riverfront like the rest of our complex at Te Aroha Landing. The other part of the complex is quite modern and clean, and we've gone for a different style with the chalets being rustic yet still quite high-end. And one of the great features in there is that we've incorporated Adrian Worsley, a nationally recognised sculptor who's based in Te Aroha, to make beds and bedside cabinets for us from an old shipping crate, and a stool for a desk out of an old beer crate from the Palace Hotel in Te Aroha. So it's quite fun, but they're still you know, very high-end appointed and have all the mod cons and technological features.
It is. It's absolutely beautiful. I saw it last week at the opening, and the beer crate is not just a beer crate. You know, it's,
No.
it's absolutely beautifully done.
Yes, he's a very clever man.
So, how has the Hauraki Rail Trail Cycleway, how has that impacted on the businesses of Te Aroha?
It's had a huge impact, actually, Annie. They estimated that 10,000 cyclists would be down in the first year, whereas in fact they estimate that 30,000 cyclists use the trail within the first 10 months. So we've got stories about cafes that are saying they're 80% up on last year, they're at capacity, and we also had some stats come out of the Hauraki Rail Trail that said that people using the leg from Pairo to Te Aroha has increased in January 50% compared to January of last year. So
That's fantastic.
there's more people in town, there's a buzz and there's an excitement in town, and people are really loving it.
So, the growth of your business is indicative of Te Aroha as a whole?
Very much so, but that also is attributed to the Silver Fern Farms plant being rebuilt. We've also got large industry around us. We've got New Zealand Pork Piggery has just started up not far from Te Aroha. We have Ingham's, we have Fonterra with the UHT plant expansion going on out there. So there's actually a lot happening around Te Aroha, and there's a lot of people coming into our town.
I have a soft spot for Te Aroha, born in Hangahanga, so I'm just so rapt to see it, it booming again. It deserves it, doesn't it?
It does. And Te Aroha was actually the birthplace of the New Zealand tourism industry when it was in its heyday with the mineral spas and bars. So, it's almost like we're desperately trying to reproduce history by getting Te Aroha recognised as a true tourism destination that it is again.
Small town, what are the challenges?
The challenges are that we need people to understand now that we're no longer a rural service centre, we're actually a tourism destination. But it's also about managing the expectations of our visitors. We are a small town, we're a boutique town, and that's actually what offers our unique flavour. So you won't find a McDonald's, you won't find a warehouse, and that's part of our charm. So it's probably more about visitors coming to our town and not expecting what they get at home, particularly if they're from big cities.
Gillian, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Annie.
Now for our region's weather for Friday. Hamilton, your Friday will be fine with light winds. Your expected high is 28 and an overnight low of 13. Paeroa and Matamata, you will have a few cloudy periods, but mostly fine. Paeroa 26 and a low of 15 are your expected temperatures, and Matamata 24 and 16. Te Awamutu and Tokoroa, you both will have sunny Fridays with northeast breezes. Your expected high Te Awamutu is 29 and 14. Tokoroa 26 and 14. Bay of Plenty, Tauranga, light winds, mainly fine. There is the chance of an evening drizzle though. Your expected high is 25 and an overnight low of 17. Te Puke, you will be sunny, but there will be a few drizzly patches in the evening. Your expected high is 23 and a low of 16. That is Central News for today. We would love to hear your feedback. You can get in touch with us at news@tvcentral.co.nz or like us on our Facebook page. Join me again tomorrow night when I find out about the iwi fight against the Rena Insurers. We find out what is on at the Wallace Gallery in Morrinsville and the bid for a new stadium. I'm Hilary Entwistle. I hope you have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.